Hello, and welcome to Horror Movies and Shit. I'm your host, Jim, and with me as always is...
That was very low energy, Jim.
I know, I'm very tired today.
That was hello. That, we're not going to beat the Joe Rogan podcast with that sort of energy. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm Mark. I'm high energy Mark.
Oh boy, high energy Mark. Oh, that's new.
Anyway, Jim, so we were supposed to have a podcast tonight for our other podcast. Jim, would you like to promote our other podcast?
So Mark has started a podcast called Politics, Religion, and Shit that I do the editing for.
No, you can't. You contribute.
I'm kidding.
Sometimes.
But anyway, we were supposed to have Lucy on today, but she's not feeling well, so we decided to record an impromptu Horror Movies and Shit episode.
Ooh, our favorite kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, Jim, that you are desperate to talk about a certain movie. Which we'll leave to the end.
Okay.
We'll keep people on the edge of their seat because they can't wait to hear your take on movies.
Well, you don't, but everybody else does.
Okay, so I was just trying to think of hey, let's just run over a few lists. So
Okay.
I have 3 lists, and I don't know how long they will take. So they may be pretty quick, or they may take a while. So
Okay.
I'm going to tell you 3 topics, and you tell me which one you want to do first, second, and third, and we'll see how it goes.
I'm going to just say, if you picked them, I don't want to talk about any of them.
You what?
I said, if you picked them, I don't want to talk about any of them.
Oh, shut your face.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is...
Wait, no.
What?
I just have to give you a number, 1, 2, or 3. Let's be
Oh,
surprised.
you don't want me... Okay.
So, we're thinking of a number between 1 and 3, obviously. We're going to go with 1.
Okay. So 1 is the first one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is 2 the second, Jim?
No, we'll do 3 and then 2.
Okay. All right. So we'll just start with the first one.
Okay.
And this is a list from... What the fuck website is this? Creepy Catalog. Ooh. It's creepy.
It's a catalog.
It's a creepy catalog. There's 1 of them. 2, 3. Okay. And I don't think we've talked about this before specifically, but this is 23 plus of the best body horror movies.
Oh, goodness.
So, Jim, whenever you think about body horror,
Mm-hmm.
what director springs to mind first and foremost?
I don't know who directed the movie, but anytime I think about body horror, The Fly, the remake of The Fly, immediately comes to mind. Cronenberg, right?
Right. So Cronenberg really is the director that most horror fans, if you ask, hey, what sort of horror movies does Cronenberg make? Most
It's all body horror.
Body horror.
Yeah.
What does body horror mean to you, Jim?
It's disfigurement, dismemberment, and just taking everything about the human body and turning it on its side so that it's repulsive.
Right. It's really, to me, it's less about, and we'll see what's on this list. It's less about somebody like coming in and slicing you up and stabbing you and stuff. It's more about the corruption of somebody's body, and especially when that's internally, right?
Yeah.
They've experienced something and their body is now starting to change.
Mm-hmm.
So let's have.
So I'm gonna say Quarantine's on this film or on this list. I'll even go so far as to say possibly I Am Legend. Then I will also obviously The Fly, the remake of The Fly.
Whoa. So explain Quarantine.
Well, because what happened to the people that were in that building, right? Or am I thinking of a different movie? Am I mixing up?
No, you're thinking about that, but I mean, basically, they're kind of turned into like sort of zombies, right?
Right. They get turned into these weird, horrific looking things, So yeah,
But
and I mean, you could even classify the descent if you go, if you want to talk about like an evolution, where those people, the dwellers or whatever the fuck they call them, in the caves, you can even say that that's a form of body horror because they have mutated.
but but Jim,
Mm.
we all have gone through evolution, so we've all
Yes,
mutated.
right.
So,
So there's some form of body horror is going to affect us viscerally.
so do you think a regular human is just body horror because we're a product of evolution?
Parts of it, yes.
No, we're not talking about your body, Jim.
Well, like I think feet are disgusting. Yes, they're repulsive.
So I kind of like if you look at like say quarantine, I'll say something kind of somewhat similar is like 28 days later.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
That's fair.
I don't see that in the body horror subcategory in my head.
Right.
Now that's just me. I mean I think that's a separate
Right.
category.
Because that's more of like a virus rather, or well, I mean, it. That's more with 28 days later. It was more of a like an internal, like the rage virus didn't cause any changes other than that they now were angry. All the they were filled with
I don't
rage
know,
and they
find their
murdered
eyes
people.
weird and
Right?
stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know that I would consider that even quarantine not necessarily what I consider body horror, but
I
I
I
can
would
see why it would be in that thing because it did physically change them. They weren't just zombies, right? They had there was one, if I
would
remember
you
one. What?
yeah, but would you consider a vampire to be body horror? Somebody turning into a vampire?
It depends on the movie because in some of them, yes, it really does disfigure them. Like let's say for instance, Subspecies. He's not a beautiful vampire.
No, you don't have to be beautiful.
No, but what I'm saying is like it he looks more than human. There's obviously been changes, very obvious changes to his physiology.
To
Yes, it could be
to
considered body
me,
horror.
there should be probably some element of pain involved in that change.
Well, it depends. Some people romanticize it. I mean, some
So, so,
authors and directors romanticize the change.
so I would say a closer analog. I don't really consider any of the vampire ones body horror. You could say like an American Werewolf in London,
Yeah.
but you could also say, and these are ones where they're something else, but they have a body horror element to them. You could
Okay.
also say even The Exorcist.
No, I don't think so because that was more mutilation than it
No, no,
was
no,
a
no, no,
physical
no,
change.
no. There was a lot of different things happening to Reagan, including her head being turned all the way around.
Well, yeah, I mean there was that, but I don't know that I would consider that body horror personally. Somebody else might, and because everybody's definition is subjective, right?
Well, apart from
So
mine,
you are not objective, sir.
you're objectively wrong in that.
That's subjective, sir.
Anyway, and what was the other one you said?
I don't remember at this point. I've been talking too much.
You said quarantine, and then the other one I didn't agree with either.
I don't remember.
Anyway, let's see what's on this list.
Okay, let's go to this list.
Okay, the 1977 David Lynch classic, Eraserhead.
Never seen it.
This one really has that abstract type of body horror in it, and there's this kind of weird baby, gross baby thing that's screaming, and there's definitely some body horror in there. But I would need to
Okay.
watch it again. That's the
So,
only body horror part I remember in it is the baby.
so aside from I have a question about an unrelated movie and whether or not you would consider it body horror. So for the definition of body horror, does it have to be the human body that gets perverted? So like something like the prophecy, where they have that mutant bear, or in Annihilation where everything has been mutated. Is that body horror or no? Because they're not human.
I think the general consensus is it's about the human body, and
Okay.
that's where the horror comes from. Like
Okay.
it could happen to you.
Okay.
I mean,
That's fair.
But again, people can have their own opinions. Okay, so unsurprisingly, 1979, David Cronenberg's The Brood.
I have not seen The Brood. I'm not the biggest or the most avid fan of David Cronenberg.
Cronenberg is a weird one for me because I really like Cronenberg, but I rarely revisit his stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, so a lot of it gets so artsy sometimes, and it loses me. So there are some movies that I really like, and then I don't seek out his work. So if I just happen to see something, I see it.
And the basis for this one, and I believe Cronenberg wrote it as he was going through a divorce. But there is a doctor who is trying to make psychological advances as far as expressing your feelings and things like that.
Okay.
And a woman kind of takes that to the next level where she starts giving birth to these weird little Jawa type creatures that kill people.
Okay.
And she doesn't give birth in the normal way. It's more like she's got like a egg sac and they come out.
Huh.
And what they are manifestations of her, anger and rage made flesh.
So she has anger babies.
Yeah.
I mean,
usual.
your crash goblins have to have a purpose, right?
The next one, I hear people say this one, and I disagree.
Okay.
And it's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Well, I mean, okay, I can see that because, I mean, you see what it does to some of those bodies, right? Where it turns that one stomach into a mouth, takes off somebody's arm.
No, but that's not a human.
But it's an alien life form infecting a human.
No. They've killed a human. Now it's just part of the thing.
Right. But
so it's just an alien disguised as a human. It's not a human at all.
But that doesn't change the emotion that gets evoked when you see the human body form, even being manipulated.
Right, but to me, that's still not body horror because I know it's not a person.
Well, you're wrong, and that's okay.
Well, so you're saying I'm wrong that it's not a person?
No, I'm saying you're wrong that it's not body horror.
Nah, it's.
I think it's almost textbook body horror.
But it's no, I disagree.
Our definition was our definition. No, wait.
Disagree.
Listen, our definition was not it has to be a human. It was the human body form.
No.
Yes.
No.
Who
said human body form? Who said that?
We just said.
I never said human body form. I said a human, so you can imagine it happening to you. You cannot imagine that your stomach's going to open up with jaws and eat somebody's arms, can you?
Sure, you could. Yeah, why not?
That's not in the movie because it's not a human.
But it's still technically body horror. It's altering the human physiology.
It's not because it's not the human physiology. It's the thing physiology.
It's not purely thing either. It absorbs and becomes that. It doesn't just mimic. It becomes. Does mimic. So where are all the bodies then in the movie? If all it does is mimic.
What do you mean? Where are all the bodies?
Where's? That's my point. It's still.
And then it makes the physical body. It doesn't reuse them.
No, I didn't say it reused them. I said it becomes part of them.
No, so if you eat, I don't know, a chicken wing, are you not part chicken wing?
No, because I can't turn into a chicken wing. I don't reuse it.
So if you eat something and can turn into it, then you're part of it.
Yes, of course.
So if
otherwise, you're just fuel.
So if you could eat a rock and turn into a rock, does that mean the rock is a person or a thing?
No, it means it's part of you now.
But it's not part of you. You've just made a copy of it.
You've made a copy of it because you've introduced it into yourself.
if I get a
If I was if
well,
that thing
hang on. If I get a set of keys and make a photocopy, does that mean that my piece of paper with a photocopy of the keys?
that argument doesn't hold up, Mark, because you
Why?
said
Why?
that the creature in the thing eats the bodies, so it ingests them and then makes itself a copy. So
Yes, a
a
copy.
photocopy
A
does not
copy.
hold
A
a
copy.
photo a photocopy is not a valid point of argument because in no way does that Xerox machine ingest any part of the keys.
So you have to ingest something. That's your rule.
I think we're getting so far off track.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, I know a lot of people think it is. I just don't think it is because I in my head I've got a pretty like this is what I believe body horror is. It's about
Yeah.
you or me contracting some disease or something invading us and
Right.
then turning us into something different, rather than something just eating us, making a copy, and then that copy does weird things. Just me.
That's fair. It's fair. Everybody has their own opinions. It's very subjective.
Okay, another movie you probably haven't seen. And again, it's David Cronenberg, not surprisingly. It is 1983's Long Live the New Flash, James Woods' vehicle, Videodrome.
I have seen Videodrome.
You have?
Mhm.
Wow.
Probably not since 1989, but I've seen it.
So I think this is a quintessential body horror from Cronenberg.
I mean, that's not. I can see that.
Because it really does. I mean, this and Existence, which I have to watch again,
Okay.
is really about the manipulation and other people manipulating
Yeah.
your body
Right.
and turning it into it could be a weapon, it could just be whatever,
Yeah.
it could be big lumps of cancer.
Right.
Yeah, uh,
I haven't seen Existence probably since. God,
Existence.
yeah, I have not seen that. Fuck, it's been a really long time.
Yeah, neither have I.
Wow, I haven't even thought about it. That's
And I really want to watch it again because it's super relevant for today. Because
yeah.
um, when was it made? Mid-90s or something.
Hmm.
But it was all about kind of the next step after virtual reality
Right.
type of thing, and it's all
Yeah.
about gaming and all that sort of. But yeah, I have to rewatch that. This next one, um, I wouldn't like if somebody said, "What sort of genre is this movie?" I would not immediately jump to body horror.
Right.
I guess there's some elements in there, but it's just not pervasive enough in it. And it's the 1985 Stuart Gordon classic Reanimator.
I mean, it's already dead, so does it even count?
I mean, the closest is Dr. Hill having his head taken off
Yeah.
and he's still alive. But,
Right.
like, I don't see this as body horror.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't put it in a list of body horror movies.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I
You
mean,
know what?
I could see myself, if somebody who was very sagacious talked me into the thing, I could see myself. Okay, well, that's closer, but this one, it's tenuous at best.
But I guess you don't know anybody that's very sagacious. Huh?
No.
So there was a movie, and I don't remember the name of it, that scared the living shit out of me when I was a kid, and I would consider it body horror, but it really isn't. And like I said, I don't remember the name of it. All I remember is that somehow a white man had a black man's head sewn onto his body.
Well, I know what you're talking about. The beast with two heads or something with
Yeah,
rain land. And it was really a conversation around race.
yeah, and then
He was a racist. Rainbow
all
was
I,
racist
yeah,
in it.
the only thing that I remember about it was when the one head was cut off and it was begging for help before it died.
It's been so long since I saw that in the 80s, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But just that premise always,
Hmm.
The Thing with Two Heads, A Beast with Two Heads.
Something like that.
There's something with two heads. Anyway, the next one is the 1986 Stuart Gordon classic, which I definitely think is body horror, and that's From Beyond.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I know what the cover
Oh,
looks.
listen, Jim. We did this Return of the Living Dead thing, right?
Yeah.
I can't keep going through horror classics with you. I'm making you watch them.
Why not? I thought
Well,
that was the whole premise of this
I guess
podcast.
I guess I could.
I thought that was the whole premise of this podcast now.
What, teach Jim horror movies?
Pretty much.
Maybe we should change the name of the podcast.
I'm not doing that again.
Anyway, From Beyond, I think, is even better than Reanimator.
Yeah.
To me, and again, they're both very loosely based on Lovecraft.
Right.
And again, this one's got Barbara Crampton in it, Jeffrey Combs, and this one's a little bit more out there.
Yeah.
Whereas Reanimator is kind of a sort of a Frankenstein-ish riff,
Yeah.
right? Now this one is full cosmic weirdness, other dimensions.
Yeah, because I remember on the VHS cover, it almost looks like the guy's coming apart because the whole part of his body is stretched out. Like
Yep.
it's like I don't know. I just never. I don't remember. I may have at some point seen it, but I don't remember anything about it. So
I think it's funnier than Reanimator. I think it's better paced than Reanimator, and I love Reanimator. Don't get me wrong. I just think From Beyond gets a little lost in the shuffle
right.
when it comes to like Stuart Gordon. And again, for some people, maybe it's a little bit too trippy.
Hey, is Frankenhooker on this list?
I don't know. I have not gone through it.
Okay.
Is Frankenhooker a body horror? Is Frankenstein a body horror?
I don't know. I mean,
I-
possibly because they are cutting up dead bodies, right? But in Frankenhooker, he takes it a step further. He's murdering people for their body parts.
Well, he's just giving the hookers super crack.
Right. He's killing
Murder is
them
not
for
body
their... No, but I'm just saying, it's not just murder; it's also dismemberment, and then rememberment. What would you call it when you sew them back together?
Rememberment.
Right.
I mean, whenever you're talking about hand and lauder, you could almost say like Basket Case is more body horror.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Belial.
Absolutely. It lives, right?
Huh?
Would you consider It Lives with that little demon baby body horror?
So no, not really. And it's weird. And I think sometimes it's just about like how you look at the movie. Like if you think about like a weird little demon kid or something,
Right.
like, and that's why I said like The Exorcist, I think has elements of body horror because it's very slowly revealed as she gets. It's almost like she's got some sort of weird virus, like that's just eating her up from the inside.
Right.
But I don't know. Okay, so again, more Cronenberg. Surprise, surprise. 1986 is, and this movie is absolute. I bought this on Blu-ray.
Just say it, Brundlefly.
Yeah,
Just say it.
So I bought this on Blu-ray recently, or a couple of years ago, and I was like absolutely sickened by what I saw in this movie. It really turned my stomach. Like, I don't know what the hell they were wearing in Canada in the 1980s, but it was just totally offensive. The fashion in that the fashion in that movie is horrendous.
The shoulder pads alone.
Oh, like if you haven't watched it, like next time you watch it, just look at what they're wearing, and you're like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
It is The Fly, and again, it is another poster child for body horror. And you could talk about the original Fly too.
Oh yeah.
Which is totally body horror. I wonder if
the only part of the original Fly that bothered me was the very end when the fly is caught in the web. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll have any older movies on here. We'll see.
Don't know.
1987's one that goes along very well with like Frankenhooker and Hand and Lauder stuff is Street Trash.
I have not seen that one.
This one also goes along well with the Australian movie Body Melt from the late '80s, early '90s. Yeah, it's a bunch of hobos, bums, who drink this contaminated like liquor,
Right.
and then they all start dissolving.
Oh,
And I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's one part where a guy loses his pecker, and they're all throwing it around. It's a real goofy, and again, it's a movie could only have been made in the '80s.
right.
This next one, I mean, yes, but yeah, I mean it is, but again, it's 1987's Hellraiser.
Okay, I mean,
I mean, there is
with the chains and yeah, I
even
mean,
with the Cenobites.
but I don't know. I don't know that I would consider it body horror. I really don't. That's a tough one because you don't see any of it, right? For the most part, you see
I'm,
the chains rip people apart maybe once or twice in the movie, but I mean, you don't see Pinhead's transformation, which it's at least in my in the way that I always looked at it was part of his transformation into who he was, sort of like they showed in part two with the doctor.
I guess on the face of it, whenever you're looking at the Cenobites, you can kind of realize what's happened with them.
Hmm.
And I would say that is, and certainly Frank at the very end, where
Right.
he's being totally pulled apart and
Jesus.
he just wept. That because it stretches, pun intended.
Yeah.
It kind of stretches what you would normally see as somebody being killed or whatever. It's
Right.
more in the fantastical side, and it's more of that body image of him being pulled apart. But yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah.
Next one I haven't seen, but I'll have to check it out sometime if I can find it anywhere. Hopefully they release these movies on Shudder or something. They're hard to get hold of. And this is a 1988 shocker from Japan, Guinea Pig Mermaid in a Manhole.
Never seen it. Never heard of it.
A guy finds a mermaid, and he puts her in his bathtub, and then she slowly devolves and
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
So this isn't horror to me, and again, I literally bought this Blu-ray 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And it's another Japanese movie, and it's the one that really started off specifically in the West, kind of the anime manga thing, which is the wonderful Akira.
Never seen
There's definite body horror in Akira.
it.
Although, again, horror, there's definite horror elements in it. And Akira is just a wonderful movie, and it is full of wonderful body horror.
So, question.
Yep.
What about Houseu? Do you consider that body horror?
No.
No. Is that because it's too comical? What's the difference? Because you have the floating head where the girl's been decapitated. You have the woman that gets eaten by the piano.
No, I don't. No, I don't find that body horror at all.
Why?
Because I don't see any body horror in it.
Why? I'm asking you to explain why.
I just answered you. I don't see any body horror in it.
What is the difference?
You said somebody getting eaten by a piano. That is not body horror to me.
Well, when her legs and her hands are flying all over the place, yeah, it kind of could be, right?
No,
Why?
that's not body horror to me. Again,
That's what I'm asking.
Okay,
No, I'm really just trying to get a clear understanding of what you consider body horror.
Hello, is this on? Is this on? 1 2 testing 1 2 1 2. Jim, I will explain it to you once again.
No, but I'm saying it cannot possibly
It's-
just be about infection and change. There has to be
That's
other
what it
elements.
is to me.
What?
That's what it is to me.
That is.
Your
That's it.
body is
There's nothing else.
changing um, through a process which should probably be painful into something else.
So like okay, let's for instance we'll step out of movies for a minute. Let's talk about a book. Um, The Wizard of Oz. Is it not considered body horror that the Tin Woodsman chopped himself up? I mean, he literally chopped off body parts and replaced them with tin.
No,
Would that not be body horror?
uh, is that what happened in the? I've never read the book.
Yeah, that's what happens in the book.
So he cut his own head off.
Yeah, he cut off every piece of his body and replaced it
He did it to
with tin.
himself.
Yes.
Was he a human?
Hmm.
So how can you cut your head off and still live?
It's a book, for Christ's sake.
No, but I'm just trying to gauge like
So in the original story, it was part of a curse, and he, if I'm not mistaken, he was cursed by a witch and chopped himself to pieces and was replaced his pieces with metal.
I mean I guess then RoboCop's body horror
It could be.
to a certain degree. I mean I don't know about but again I don't see how that relates to Hausu.
It doesn't necessarily relate to. I'm trying to get a better understanding because I have a hard time believing there's only one way for a movie to be body horror for you.
Well, I mean again it's my subjective opinion and it's going to be along the lines and everything's subjective of something happening to somebody's body. It's not like Jason comes up and cuts somebody's head off, so that's body horror. It has to be some sort of change within you. And again, I will separate this from like say being a zombie, or because it has to be more of a fundamental, like your body doing something different, like something happening.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I just find it that there's only one constraint you put on body horror, and it baffles me because you're usually so level headed, and that just seems very narrow minded in terms of
Well,
your taste in
but
movies.
here's the thing though. If you don't have some guardrails, then you could just say everything's body horror,
Not
basically.
true.
In
Well,
horror,
I mean,
you could say
you
basically like I said, vampires are body horror, zombies are body horror. So like a slasher coming and chopping people's arms off is body horror. So you have to have some sort of guardrails, and those are mine.
well, no, I do I completely understand that, but I find it very narrow of your compared to your other views on movies. I find that very narrow, like that it has to just be that. That's all. It's not a good or a bad thing because it's all about you and what you appreciate. It's just it seems out of line with most of how you judge other movies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, give me an example where I have a wider, like, unless you're talking about something that's like a larger genre. I mean, this is a subgenre.
Right, and
So,
that's my point though. It
so,
just seems
so,
it's a more specific definition
so give me
for
an
you.
example of a subgenre where I have a wider net.
Well, we'd have to start talking about different subgenres. I'm just saying it seems a very narrow scope,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
that's what a subgenre is.
Dude, never mind. Never mind. Just go on next. Never mind.
Okay, next one. Yeah, this one is definitely body horror, and it's the 19. A lot of these, obviously, in the 80s. Is Brian Yuzna's Society.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
Definitely body horror.
yeah. Okay, and this next one, again, this is quintessential body horror. And it's
Never
the
seen it.
1989 Japanese art classic Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Never seen it.
And it's basically it's kind of surrealistic where a guy starts to have industrial metal parts merge with his body, after a car accident.
Okay.
And it's really, he like transforms into this like half metal, half flesh sort of weird thing. So, and they made a sequel to it, which, did I see it?
So where's the infection?
It doesn't have to be an infection. An infection is one type of way.
Okay.
It's about your body changing.
Well, but earlier you said that you have to be infected
No, I
to have
didn't.
your body change.
No, I didn't.
You did.
No,
You
I
did.
didn't.
You specifically mentioned that because you
No,
talked
you
about
said
28 days later.
said, for example, an infection. But you could, like, if you go back to the thing, but imagine if the thing wasn't the thing, right, and it didn't completely destroy you and make a copy of you, and you could talk about things like let's see, like Splinter, I think it happened, where you can have your own body and then it gets corrupted. It's about the
Okay.
corruption of your body, but it's not the corruption via, somebody running you over or somebody cutting your head off. It's something which changes you. Like Videodrome is not about an infection.
No. Okay. Continue.
Speaking of infections, the next one is about infections, which is
It's Gonorrhea the musical, right?
kind of trashy, but one of his better ones, because I don't really rate him too much. Eli Roth's Cabin Fever.
Garbage.
Right, but
The only good thing about that movie was the soundtrack.
I think it was okay. I think it was okay.
Disagree. I found it boring, but the sound effects, chef's kiss, disgusting. Like the sound of the sloughing off of skin in the bathtub, disgusting. Made me want to vomit. But the movie itself sucked.
Next one I haven't seen, which is Meatball Machine, which is one of the kind of over-the-top crazy Japanese extreme movies. What's the name of that one? Tokyo Gore 1. Anyway, yeah, so Japan had a lot of these also type of body horror, turning into weird monsters and machine parts and everything else. I take it you haven't seen this one, Jim, which is why.
No.
No. Next one, yep, definitely body horror. It's the 2006 kind of remake of Night of the Creeps, which is James Gunn's Slither.
Never seen Slither.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I've seen Night of the Creeps. Does that help?
Yeah. My disappointment is. Anyway, yes, Slither definitely has a lot of body horror in it.
Okay.
So one of my favorite extreme movies is Tom Six's 2011 opus, The Human Centipede 2.
Mm-hmm.
This is a weird one for me. Like, for body horror, I mean... And this is where, you talk about how I define it.
Yeah.
And this is where it causes some problems sometimes. Like, if you sew an arm onto me, is that body horror?
You said no earlier.
Right. So I don't think this is body horror either.
Okay.
Even though it's people being absolutely tormented and blah, blah, blah. And having multiple people in a chain having their faces stapled to other people's asses. I would kind of not say that, but just me. Have you seen any of the Human Centipede? Have we talked about Human Centipede?
Yeah, I saw the first one, and that was it.
And again, the first one really is very restrained.
Yeah.
As far as what it shows. But yeah, the second one's great. Love it. Next one is I keep on forgetting they've made movies out of this. And if I was more into like manga stuff, I would have read the books,
Hmm.
which is Parasite. Have you heard of this Japanese?
I've heard of it. I've not seen any of it.
Yeah, I totally forgot they made like parts 1 and 2 back in 2014 and 15. As far as I can gather, this one's totally body horror. It's like The Thing, but I believe it's the people themselves, right? There's
Right.
copies of them. 2014's Justin Long,
Tusk.
Tusk.
Yeah. This wouldn't fit with your definition, would it? Or would it?
And this sort of falls almost in the human centipede type category.
Right. That's exactly why I made that comment.
I think he looks very different, but he hasn't been fundamentally. Well, maybe he has. I don't know. I'm on the line a little bit with this one.
Yeah.
And Tusk is very funny. Like a lot of
It
people
is.
didn't like it, but it was this or that. I'm like,
That fight scene at the end was fucking fantastic.
did you not find it funny? Oh no, but that's the point. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
For first and foremost. Okay, so the next one, this one kind of goes along with Basket Case. This is James Wan's 2021 movie, Malignant,
Oh yeah. Okay.
which also goes along well with the Takeshi Miike Masters of Horror episode, where we have two people in kind of one body.
Right.
Uh,
And Malignant was actually fun. I enjoyed that one.
yeah, I thought it was a fun giallo 80s goofy throwback with some really cool action scenes in it too, which
Yeah, it did.
you know you just have to look at it for what it is, and it's just a bit of fun.
Right.
Next one is I haven't seen it yet. Crimes of the Future, which is
I haven't seen that yet.
most recent one.
Mhm.
I'll have to check out. And here we go. More great body horror movies. So that was their main list. This is their kind of side list. 1977's The Incredible Melting Man.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, this is low budget, schlocky fun.
So would the Incredible Shrinking Woman count?
Or the 50-foot Attack of the 50-foot Woman, or anybody,
Or Attack of the
or,
50-Foot
or
Cheerleader?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right. Would those count?
I don't think so.
Because they're fundamentally changed, even though they're not physically changed,
Yeah.
right?
I don't think there's enough pain involved.
That's fair.
See, and the next one, this one kind of goes along with The Thing for me, and this is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
But that's just replicas, right? So
Right.
that wouldn't fall under your definition.
Would it fall under yours?
I don't know, because they're just copies. Like the host is still intact.
The only body horror aspect of this, which actually is quite effective, is when they're being taken over when they're asleep,
Right.
which is kind of body horror, I guess.
I guess it could be.
But overall,
Yeah, I would not consider it body horror.
next one. Would this be body horror? And they're saying this one might be a stretch, and I think it's less of a stretch than a number of the other ones that they put on here. And this is Alien.
I mean, yeah, I guess I could consider that body horror when the facehugger implants in your chest
You
and
got
then
a
your body is
parasite
destroyed.
living inside you.
Mhm. It doesn't fundamentally change you; it just kills you.
Right, but there is something inside you growing.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It definitely could qualify. It could.
Okay, we've already talked about Basket Case. They also bring up Brain Damage. I don't consider that body horror,
I don't think
although
I've seen that one anyway.
I think it's Henan Lauder's best. We should have a podcast, Jim, where I just name great movies and you just tell me that you haven't seen them.
Haven't seen it.
1985's Larry Cohen, I believe, The Stuff.
Is that body horror?
They talk about just one scene where I think it's Chocolate Chip Charlie. You know, kind of his mouth gets like all like pulled apart and stuff. But
I do not, under any circumstances, consider that body horror.
Okay. Oh, okay. So they brought up Body Melt. This one, I think, qualifies enough. I think just because it's different. And you might disagree, and you might say that I'm a hypocrite. But it's 1988's remake of The Blob.
No, I could see that. I could see that. Because especially that scene, especially when it ingests people. You know, that gets pretty disgusting. So I could see that.
They talk about existence. Here's a good one. Something that you would never have to worry about. And this is Vagina Dentata.
Mm-hmm.
This is teeth, yes. And this one, even though... So this one's a little weird because, right, so this isn't something this is just something which is natural with this girl. Next one, a movie I've heard about. I haven't seen, but I've heard pretty good things about it. 2013's Contracted.
Not seen it.
A woman's body deteriorates after she contracts what she believes is an STD, but it turns out to be something else entirely.
Yep. What about, have you seen I think it's called Bug with Ashley Judd?
Yeah,
Would you consider that body horror?
No.
Okay, just curious.
No. That's William Friedkin, right? Based on the play.
Yeah.
I really have to get that a rewatch. I remember liking certain aspects of it, but I kind of felt that she became and I know there's a psychological thing where you get dependent on somebody and believe their nonsense, but it feels like she kind of just jumped on board too quick.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the drugs obviously played a factor too because they were both junkies.
Right, but I don't know, there was something that it just didn't feel right.
It didn't seem authentic. Yeah.
Maybe I need to watch it again.
Okay.
Anyway, next one. No, don't believe this at all. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Really like this movie. It is not body horror.
I mean, I could see where they would classify it that way only because of the autopsy.
So if somebody has an autopsy as body horror to you?
Not to either one of us, no. But I could see where somebody that is of a differing mind would say yes.
Now remember, this is supposed to be the creepy catalog, so that you would think that they would know their stuff. I don't think.
But even still, the definition of body horror is subjective. You can't place your rigorous standards on somebody else.
Of course I can. If somebody said, here's my top 10 list of alien movies, and they put Frankenstein in there, I'm going to be like, you're wrong.
That is not a fair.
There is no body horror in The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Not under your definition, no.
So if I say Frankenstein is not an alien movie, you would say that's just my opinion, correct?
No, there are no aliens in Frankenstein.
There is no body horror in The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Thank you.
Your opinion. Some people would consider the autopsy itself mutilation of the human body. Therefore, it's body horror.
Maybe Frankenstein was zapped. It wasn't lightning. It was an alien that.
That theory has never been thrown out there. So it
doesn't matter. If some people believe it, then that's okay, right?
Sure, it is. That's their opinion, and they're entitled to be wrong.
Right. Yes, just like I'm saying that this list is wrong for having
Yeah, shut up.
the autopsy of Jane Doe in it. Thank you. Next one. It's Suspiria, the remake.
Huh? Why? Because of the ballet scene?
Yeah.
I don't consider that body horror.
There is a small dash of it in
You
there,
have one. There's one scene, like one extended
right?
scene.
But
Right?
that's more than the entire movie of the autopsy of Jane Doe. So
Unless you think about how did she get all of that the writing inside her skin,
she was a witch.
so that makes it so she can write on the inside of her skin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Never mind. Never mind. I just don't have the energy today.
It's all right, Jim. It's okay. You take a little lie down there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap.
Okay,
Wait till when it's over.
so that was this list. How long have we been going on this?
Thank God, Jesus Christ! I
We've been
can't.
going an hour, so I think
Yeah.
we'll just do one more list, and this has got quite a lot on it. But
Oh Jesus. Okay.
this has got 50 movies. Hey, you're the one. You're the one that picked the order, not me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we could probably breeze through some of these. I'm sure.
Okay.
This is. Let's see.
Hopefully, it's not as divisive as body horror. Jesus.
Well, whenever, if you could just agree with me, Jim, and know that I'm right.
That is not
That was
my
me.
style, and you know it.
But you like to cause drama, and that's fine. That's good for the listeners. I say 1 + 1 = 2. You'll be like, well, some people might see it 3.
Well, if we're doing Common Core math,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck Common Core math is.
Okay, so this is from Newsweek, from May of 2021.
Yeah.
So it's a couple of years out of date.
Yep.
But this is 50 horror movies with the worst ratings on the site that everybody should always trust, Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, let's go with the tomato meter.
So at number 50, I mean, I agree, but I disagree because it's just so much fun. This is, and you're going to talk about him in a little bit, the Mark Wahlberg vehicle in M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening.
I like it.
I mean, it's the dumbest piece of shit ever, but it's entertaining.
Yeah, I like it because I firmly believe that at one point in our evolution, Mother Nature's going to get sick of us and just go, "Be gone, please."
So you liked it because of the realism.
Yeah. I firmly believe that. So I don't believe it's going to happen that way, but I do believe there's going to be some catastrophic event that's going to wipe humans off the face of the earth because Mother Nature's sick of our bullshit.
Right, but does that make a good movie?
It made it entertaining for me. Yes, I enjoyed.
It's only
the premise very much.
entertaining about because how bad it is. It's not entertaining in any actual good way.
I disagree, but go on with your bad self.
I guess the folks that are at Rotten Tomatoes disagree with you, Jim.
Well, they're okay to be wrong every once in a while too.
Jim, it seems like everybody's wrong except you.
Pretty much.
Do you know what that's called?
Me being right.
Psychosis.
Yeah,
Next one, I have not seen this one, but I guess Paris Hilton's in it. 9 Lives.
I remember turning it on, but I don't think I ever finished it.
The next one is very much like The Happening, except even funnier. So it should not be on this list. And it's Troll 2.
Nilbog.
You don't piss in hospitality. It's just a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
Next one, 1965's Orgy of the Dead. I'm not seen it.
Haven't seen it.
With no real storyline, this erotic horror sees half-naked ghouls dance without any dialogue for a whole 70 minutes. Okay.
That sounds horrible.
Next up, I know it's your favorite in the series, so you're probably not going to enjoy this one, but it is Jaws: The Revenge.
Ah! Yeah, I don't understand the whole point of that movie. It's garbage.
This one, there's too many parts of it that aren't funny, but
Yeah.
there definitely are parts that are really funny in it. But it just doesn't. It just
Well, I mean,
it didn't.
it killed off
the
most of the
shark
main
early
characters. Yeah, I mean, and just for her, that shark is going to go into a warmer climate just so she can ram it with a boat.
Well, it follows her when she's flying somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's got a tracker on her. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And what do you call him? This terrible Jamaican accent.
Michael Caine.
No, Michael Caine.
Oh,
Oh, what's his name? Van Peebles, right?
Mario Van Peebles?
Yeah. Was it Mario or the other Van Peebles? Anyway.
I don't
Yeah, man.
know.
Next one I haven't seen because I heard it was terrible. Creepshow 3.
I didn't know they made it 3.
Yeah. I guess this next one, I haven't seen either, but it's well named, I suppose. The Disappointments Room.
That was such a boring fucking movie.
Yeah. So it was disappointing.
Yeah, it was that Disappointments Room was disappointing.
Yeah. Next up is Uwe Boll. He'll probably be on this list more. House of the Dead.
See, I didn't mind that movie. Like, it wasn't anything great, but it wasn't terrible.
It was. Here's the thing about that movie. It was competently made.
Yeah.
And it was just stupid fun, but you have to
Yeah.
turn your brain off, obviously.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. And I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I've seen much worse than that. Okay, next up is a Stephen King adaptation.
The Stand,
Nope, with Robert Englund in it.
The Mangler.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It's pretty bad. It's also got what's his name from Silence of the Lambs is the main guy in it, the Buffalo Bill.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Next one, yes, I hated this movie, although I haven't seen it since this came out. Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
See, I liked it better than the original.
Why?
I don't know. I just thought it was better.
How would you rate the original?
5.
So that's like an 8 out of 10 for most people, right?
Probably.
So you give the Blair Witch Project 2 what most people would say a 9 or a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 7.
Okay, we're getting into some crappy 60s movies. The Beast of Yucca Flats.
No, not seen that one.
Might have seen that on, like, what do you call it? The Mystery Science
TV?
Theater 3000 or something.
No,
Same with the next one, Monster a Go-Go.
never seen it.
Ouija, 2014.
I like the sequel much better. The first one was kind of boring.
Right, and everyone says that. And I've only seen the sequel, and that's Mike Flanagan one, right?
Yep.
1975's A Giant Spider Invasion.
Never seen it.
Not seen it either. 35 out of the 50 is Homecoming, 2009.
Is that based on the Dean Koontz book or John Saul?
I don't know. An independent horror about a jealous woman who discovers her ex-boyfriend is dating someone new.
Yeah, no, that's not the same book. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, never heard of it. A lot of these I probably have not heard of. 2019's Mary. Despite an all-star cast involving Emily Mortimer and Gary Oldman, This film's plot was slated by critics. A family looking to start a new life sets sail on a boat that holds dark and mysterious secrets. That actually sounds
I've
pretty
never,
good.
yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. One Missed Call, 2008.
Uh, so, I mean, it tried and failed to deliver the tension. Like, it didn't feel like there were any real stakes with that movie, so I didn't care for it.
I really like the original.
Yeah. I've never seen the original.
I've seen the sequel. I don't, or the remake. I haven't. I don't remember. Okay, this is some bullshit right here. Number 32, Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Yes.
I mean,
Definitely the weakest of the franchise.
no, Leprechaun in Space one. That one was terrible.
No, Leprechaun in Space was fucking magic.
No, that
Bite your tongue.
the ones in the hood are pretty funny. The incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies.
What?
The incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies. 1964.
That's actually the name of the film?
That's actually the name of the film.
Oh my.
I have not seen this one.
Yeah, no, me either.
Next up, we have the remake, which I haven't seen this one, of Flatliners.
The remake was straight garbage. Could not have been any less enjoyable.
The next one, I think this is on Prime or Shudder or something. Deathbed, The Bed That Eats.
I've never heard of it.
1977. Four-poster bed consumes lovers after a failed seduction attempt many years prior. Number 28, and this one is the sort of movie where, it's 2002, the internet's still very young, but it's old enough that people understand how it works.
Hell World.
Huh? No.
Hell World.
And it's fear.com.
I enjoyed that one.
That one, I mean,
I thought it was new. It was good for its time.
I haven't seen it since it came out, but even I could see, it's the sort of movie, if you can ignore the enormous, gigantic plot holes in it,
Yeah.
it's all right. But
Yeah,
I totally can see people that wouldn't or couldn't. I'm saying this is a pile of shit. Okay, so this...
I will say this so far. It appears that I've seen more of these movies than you have.
Yeah, you've seen more shit movies than I have.
Clearly.
Next up is one which, they can go fuck themselves. This is the second best movie in this now very tired out series. And this is the Tom Atkins classic,
Season of the Witch.
Halloween 3. How this is number 27 in the top 50 worst movies.
Because people hated it.
Right, but this is coming from a list that's 2 years ago.
Right, a lot of people still hate that movie because it doesn't have Michael Myers.
Halloween 3 has definitely had much more of a revival since the days when, in 1982, where people were like, oh, there's no Michael Myers in it, it's fucking shit. It's definitely got a lot more praise and love. And if you go on most horror boards on Facebook or whatever, horror groups, and you say, do you like Halloween 3? I will tell you most people will say yes.
Next.
The Haunting of... What do you mean next?
I
You shut your mouth. Next up is The Haunting of Molly Hartley.
haven't seen it.
Which I've as I'm scrolling around on my different streaming sites, I've seen the title.
Yeah, I've seen the title. I just not seen the movie.
Next up is the Jenna Jameson classic Zombie Strippers.
Yeah, that's not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to 2016's Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
I think it's all right. I mean, again, Roth.
I will say Patient Zero was better than Cabin Fever.
Not seen it.
It's
Uh,
pretty cool. It shows you how Cabin Fever started.
Next one, I think I've seen, and I think this is a Robert De Niro one, if I'm remembering. Godsend? Is that Robert De Niro?
Yes, yes, it was.
I've seen
It
this,
was.
but I have no memory of it.
It was a cloning movie
Right.
where
I
cloned the kid.
remember like the general plot, but I don't remember.
It was very forgettable.
Yeah. Number 22 is 2004 Zombie Nation.
I don't know that I saw that one.
It's a Uli Lamel one, so that's probably shit. Next up is Darkness 2004.
Ugh.
Is that the one with
The Tooth
Sean
Fairy.
Bean? What?
No, that Darkness was. Hold on, let me see if that was the Wes Craven one. No, that I'm thinking they. Let me look up Darkness because
Darkness.
I'm getting them confused.
Is that Mario Bello and Sean Bean or somebody like that?
Darkness.
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong one.
Yeah, I feel like 2002,
2004.
2004, 2004. I see one from 2002 with Anna Paquin and Lena Olin. But I don't see one from 2004. And this was garbage. This one.
Darkness 2000.
I mean, this is back when they tried to do PG-13 horror. So a teenage girl moves into a remote country house.
Yeah,
with her family.
it must be this one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just wasn't great at all. It was very forgettable.
Okay. Next up is we're actually going to go see him in a couple of months. Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. Jim?
I've never seen it. Never seen it.
No, not seen it either.
You're going to see Snoop Dogg, though, you said?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, but we're going to go see the Misfits before it. Blood Diner, 1987.
I think no, that was Blood and Donuts. I have not seen this one.
I don't think I've seen this either one. This one either. Next up is 1988's Hobgoblins.
Oh, that's a cute movie. It's essentially like the creatures from like Troll.
No, I know. I've seen it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I love the band that plays in the club. I love their songs. Like, I know it's like they got made fun of in Mystery Science Theater, but it's just, I don't know. I just really like it.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so the next one is one that's generally held as one of the very worst of the worst, which is Manos, The Hands of Fate, 1966.
I watched that on an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and it was truly terrible.
Next one, I don't think you're going to enjoy that it's at number 16, and it's Dr. Giggles.
I honestly can't ever recall having seen it.
You've never seen it? Dr. Giggles.
No. I'm not saying I've not seen it. I'm well aware of the movie, but I can't ever recall having sat down to watch the whole thing.
Oh, it's great. And it's under Manos Hands of Fate. Fuck off, Rotten Tomatoes. Another Uwe Boll video game one, Alone in the Dark, 2005 with Kristen Slater.
I never cared for that one.
I
mean, it wasn't terrible. I just never cared for it.
2000 Bless the Child. Was that Kim Basinger in that?
It was, yes. And it was very forgettable.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen it. I just remember that.
I know I've seen it.
But it just came out, and those were the ones. I think there was a couple other around that same time about.
Yeah, it was close to the same time as Godsend, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of like End of Days and Stigmata, and
Yeah, and
I
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it was like the 1999 2000
yeah,
apocalypse thing that brought a lot of that back up.
yeah.
Okay, this is just a pile of shit. A lot of people say that this is like, oh, it's so good or so bad, it's fucking hilarious, but it's just fucking boring. And this is Birdemic Shock and Terror.
Never seen it.
It's just boring. It's not even good. Okay, I totally disagree with this one, and this is why Rotten Tomatoes is just full of shit. Jason X,
Oh, fucking great movie.
right, and this is below like Manos Hands of Fate and Birdemic.
Yeah, fuck no. That's a great movie.
Yep. Next one, I totally agree with, and the only movie I've ever fallen asleep while watching.
Okay.
And this is the remake of The Fog.
I'm not a fan of either. So, the original or the remake.
Hey,
I just
hey,
I never found it. I never found it scary or interesting.
hey, Jim.
It's not that I think it's a bad movie.
Jim, do you want to correct yourself about John Carpenter's classic, The Fog?
No, I don't. I stand by what I said.
So you think The Fog and The Fog remake are both trash? Is that what you're saying?
I did not say they were both trash. The remake, I don't know if I've even seen the whole thing.
Well, how would you rate John Carpenter's the classic The Fog out of 10?
4 or 5?
4 or 5.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. All I'm saying is I never had that much. I could never summon the interest enough to see it more than the one time I've seen
well, you might want to watch it again. It'll be fucking fine.
it.
Next up is a Paris Hilton vehicle, House of Wax.
The only good thing about that movie is her getting a pole to the head.
It was just one of those very kind of generic. It almost felt like a mid '90s. I know
Yeah.
it did last summer type of aesthetic to it.
Yep.
And again, it's more based on Tourist Trap than a House of Wax, so I don't know why they use that. I mean, is this worse than a lot of the other ones? No, it's
Yes.
no. This is not worse than. Let's see. Let's go back up here. Manos Hands of Fate.
I'd rather watch Manos Hand of Fate.
No. I mean,
I'd rather watch the remake of My Bloody Valentine.
Oh, the remake of My Bloody Valentine's great.
It's straight garbage.
Why? Just because there's a naked woman in it?
No, it's just because it's uninteresting and it's boring. Give me the original any day. The remake sucks.
But the
Same thing with the Friday the 13th remake. It's
No.
fucking garbage.
no. Nope. Nope.
Fucking garbage, my friend. Fucking garbage.
Nope. It's so My Bloody Valentine remake. It's not as good as the original.
No?
Which again, I'm not a big slasher fan, as you know, but I really think the original is very good. I think this.
I'd rather watch The Prowler, and that was garbage.
I think the aesthetic for My Bloody Valentine remake is a little 90s heavy, and some of the performances aren't great. But it's got Tom Atkins in it. I think it moves at a good pace. There's some good gore in it. I've got no problem with it. The Friday the 13th remake, I think it tried to add something new. And
it failed miserably.
And I thought Derek Mears was great as Jason. I think a lot of people get hung up that he is smarter in this one. But if it was just a straight remake, then everybody would be like, well, what's the point?
The problem with the remake is that he took a captive.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He's smarter in this one.
It has nothing to do with him being smarter.
So
he took a fucking captive.
So hang on.
Not Jason.
So imagine there's a cut of it where they cut that part out.
Yeah, it might be better.
So it's just that scene, which a lot of people are just like really crying about.
Yeah, it really destroyed it for me. Yep, it really destroyed it for me. That and Jared Padalecki's lackluster performance.
I mean, to criticize like a Friday the 13th movie because of one of the actors' performance, well, then every Friday the 13th movie is shit.
No, so here's the essentially it is you only watch them because they're so campy and so full of garbage. Whereas this one tried to come off as a serious horror film.
No, I disagree. I think a number of the Friday the 13th were trying to come off as serious.
But they were camp, and I love every
No,
minute of it.
because they were at a camp, Jim, doesn't mean they were camp. So
They were camp.
So
Those movies are total camp.
Here's the thing: it's camp because it's low budget, right? And it's
Yep.
because of the year it was made.
Yep.
So if in 20 years in the future you look back at the remake, or people are looking at it, they'll be like, "Well, that's camp because it was back then and it was lower budget."
No.
No.
You're not going to win this with me. It's garbage.
All right. Maybe this one was one I was thinking about. It's 2016's The Darkness.
The Darkness?
Is that the one I was thinking about?
I don't know. The Darkness. No, that's Val Kilmer. Oh, no, that's Kevin Bacon and Rhoda Mitchell. Oh, God. That movie with the kid with the handprints.
Yeah, that was just very generic.
Yeah, it was. It was very bland.
Like a lot of these are just like, I'll just watch it once. It was just not very good.
Yeah.
But like,
well, that's like his movie Dream Home or whatever it was not very good.
Dream House or
yeah.
But it's like you watch it and you're just like, well, that was kind of disappointing. But like the worst horror movies of all time.
Yeah.
like what sort of like I don't get it. And maybe it's the Rotten Tomatoes way of doing things. 1964 is The Creeping Terror, and next is 1953's very famous Robot Monster with that was the one with like the ape suit, but they have like the TV on the hands.
I don't know this one.
2012's The Apparition.
Never heard of it.
Here's the thing, like a lot of these titles all kind of sound very similar.
Yep.
3 college students accidentally summon a supernatural entity in a parapsychology experiment.
Oh, wait. Is that the one where they're in the lab and they bring that thing to them?
I'm assuming it's in a lab. I don't know.
Let me see.
It stars Harry Potter.
Ashley Greene and Sebastian Stan. No, that's a totally different movie.
This is 2012.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2012, I see one Ashley Greene and Sebastian Stan. That's the only one I see from 2012, and it's not the one you just talked about. Okay, so this one, the one that I'm looking at is 2019. A group of young people guided by an app, which, no, that's not it either.
Okay, let's move along. This
is
boring me now. Okay, number 5. Again, another remake, Prom Night. Not seen it.
Yeah, it was boring and trite. There was nothing memorable.
Now this one at number 4 is like the 4th worst horror movie in this rating system. Now this is a movie which I liked whenever I was a kid. On rewatch, I find it really cringe. But it should be nowhere near the bottom of one of these lists. And it's Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Well, I only recently saw the first one, so right. I'm no judge.
And the second one is, it's not a sequel, it's like a reimagining.
Mm-hmm.
But it stars Tom Matthews and James Karen, who were in the first one, right?
Yep.
So they're back, and they're both kind of the same characters, but it's got a very kiddie feel to it, and they do like Michael Jackson Thriller type puns in it, and there's just a lot of cringe in it on rewatch. But
Okay.
it's not a bad movie
Okay.
at all. So what it's doing here is I don't know. Next up is Martyrs, Jim.
The remake, obviously.
Correct. I have not seen it. I don't even.
I haven't either.
Number 2 is the 2010 movie Six Souls.
That is that the one with Julianne Moore?
I don't. Might be.
Because if that is yes, that was a shit movie.
But does it deserve to be number 2 of the worst horror movies?
No.
And this is my point about this list. I don't know. Maybe they're looking at just like theatrically released movies or something.
Right.
Because there's so much shit out there. Like
Oh.
that. Like the every one of these is like almost Oscar worthy compared to some of the shit I've seen. This is like I don't even get it. Just low budget bullshit, crappy amateur bullshit. Okay, the next one is a movie which I felt was all right. Now the ending, they can shove it up their ass, and this is The Devil Inside.
I don't think I've seen that one.
So it's just a possession movie, and it's decent enough. But at the very end, they have kind of this cliffhanger ending, and it like cuts to, if you want to know more, go to this website. So that ending can just fuck right off. That's like we're watching a movie. We're not part of your marketing bullshit experiment.
Right.
But if you just take the movie apart from the very last part, it's all right. I mean, it's competently made, and it's just okay. So I don't get it.
So going back to your Six Souls movie,
Yeah,
they renamed it.
Seven Souls.
And no, now it's called Shelter.
Well, that'll probably help them.
Yeah, probably. And its box office take was $3 million.
Okay.
Anyway,
I think we'll save this list for the other list for another time
okay.
because we're an hour and a half in, and I know you probably have a 20-minute dissection. Because on a previous episode we were talking about books versus movies.
Yes.
And you were convinced there's no movie better than a book. No. Never.
I don't know that I had that stalwart an opinion.
You could not name a movie you like better than the book.
I do find difficulty in that.
So that is 100% opinion about something. Correct?
What are you talking about? What movie or book are you talking about?
About the one that you want to bring up?
About the one you're alluding to right now. What book and movie are we talking about?
Okay, so we're doing what we've watched.
Okay.
And
what have I watched that you think I want to talk so much about?
You made a post, Jim.
I did not say what book or movie I was talking about.
You said there was some movie that you liked better than the book. And this is some sort of epiphany for you. Strangely enough, after I was like ramming it into your head, they're different media. And now all of a sudden your eyes are open.
Well, no.
That is progress, Jim. I'm proud of you.
So it's no secret that I didn't care for this book, right? We talked about it on the podcast.
Okay,
the book
stop teasing the audience. What are we talking about?
The book was Cabin at the End of the World. And I did not care for it. I found it boring. It was much more of a conversation about what could possibly happen and trying to build up psychologically the horror, or the sense of impending doom that just never got there for me. So that being said, I did not care for the book. I did, however, watch the other night Knock at the Cabin, which is the movie based on that book. And you and I had talked about it when you first saw it, right, Mark?
Yep.
And I was very upset about the casting of Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
And I will say that I stand by my initial assessment, and I don't think he did a very good job in this film. Not for lack of trying. I know what the character was. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Well, okay.
So it's not.
I
It's
will
not to
give you
say that.
rope to hang yourself with.
Will you shut up and let me talk? Jesus Christ!
You could just call me Mark.
I said Jesus Christ, not holy shit. Anyway, so Dave Bautista was entirely cast wrong for this character. I understand the changes that they were trying to make, and I think that was a very poor choice for this movie. It definitely destroyed a lot of what could have been some great tension in the film. Because I found a lot of trouble, I had a lot of trouble seeing him as vulnerable. And I don't think he came across as vulnerable in the moments that it was intended. So, that being said, everything else about the movie that they changed, I thought was fantastic. I thought they did a great job. All of the performances were solid, whether I agreed with the character changes or not. All of the performances were solid. Nobody was bad in this movie, regardless of what I saw the characters as from having read the book. And the changes that they made, especially to the end of the movie, I really appreciated that M. Night Shyamalan did not do a twist ending on this movie. Although he did change the ending of the movie. He did change the ending from the book into the movie.
You're saying M. Night Shyamalan is a genius scriptwriter. Is that what you're telling me?
I am not. I'm saying he did not fuck up this movie by trying to give it a twist.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. There are very few M. Night Shyamalan movies, with the exception of The Happening, Sixth Sense, and he did Signs too, right?
Yeah.
Those are the only 3 movies that he's made that I've enjoyed. Now counting the Knock at the Cabin, where I don't feel that his quote unquote twist didn't totally fuck up his movie.
Does he always need to have a twist at the end of his movie?
He doesn't need it, but he always seems intent on putting one there. Like the ending to this movie, while not true to the source material, was effective. I think.
What was it though?
I think so, yes. It's still got the author's point across because it's very ambiguous.
Is it? It's not ambiguous.
It is. It is absolutely ambiguous. Do you know for a fact that they went out into a populated world?
So
all you know is that those two characters at the end of the movie drove off.
So hang on. So the whole movie is about convincing these characters,
yes,
that the apocalypse is going to happen if they don't
sacrifice somebody, right?
And every single piece of evidence is that that's true.
Is it?
Give me a piece of evidence that says it's not true.
Well, how can you not understand that there's a very strong possibility that all this stuff would have happened anyway? Why is their sacrifice going to make a difference?
Jim, if I gave you like the winning lottery numbers 10 times in a row, would you say that I might have some maybe picture of the future?
Yeah, it's possible, I guess. Or you could just be very good at statistics.
Well, no. Oh, hang on. Hang on. So picking the winning lottery numbers, and I would be like nowhere connected to where I could influence them, are like millions and billions in one. And if I did it 10 times in a row, statistically, that would be extremely unlikely to
Correct.
the nth degree. So you have to give a little bit more weight to what I say.
Do I? Why?
Well, unless you're a raving lunatic that doesn't understand how the world works, you would understand that somebody giving you that sort of information, maybe they're from the future, maybe they've written it down, or maybe they have special powers. I don't know.
So you believe in
But
time travel?
statistically, that is as near to zero as you can get. So if you just say, well, you could just be Joe Blow and you just made it up and it's just all a coincidence whenever it's that level of accuracy versus that level of odds, I would say that you're probably not thinking it through.
And that's entirely possible because in that situation, I think like anybody else, if somebody is standing in front of you, has you tied up, and is demanding that you kill somebody in your family to save the world, many people would not believe it.
No,
Regardless of the number of quote unquote prophecies that are fulfilled while you're tied up.
So you think the characters were stupid in this to do that sacrifice?
No, I'm not saying that because
No. That's exactly what you're saying. And
no,
and you.
What I'm saying is that no. What I'm saying, what I'm not saying that they're stupid. What I'm saying,
Yep,
is that there is no proof at the end of that film, one way or the other, whether that sacrifice made any impact.
I did not get that impression from the end of the movie.
So, and I'm curious about that. What gives you hope at the end of that movie?
Not hope.
All you see is a man and his daughter driving off.
Again, so you in this movie world,
Mm-hmm.
I think they have been given sufficient evidence where it makes sense.
And entirely possible. I'm viewing it completely as a skeptic from my side.
And I'm more skeptical than you, but I'm talking this movie framing device.
I know what you're talking about. What I'm saying is, I'm looking at it from my perspective, and I 100% would have been on board with Aaron, where they already knew this was going to happen. They already saw these news reports. That would have been my character. That's how I believe I would have reacted in that situation.
Your character is the guy at the end of Cabin in the Woods.
I believe I would have behaved similarly.
Where you would have been like, no, I'm not going to die. I know the world's going to end, but fuck it. The world's just going to end and I'm going to die anyway.
Pretty much. Might as well die with the people I love.
So but you could have saved the people that you loved.
I could have.
But
in that instance, I would have chosen not to.
Right. What does that say about you, Jim?
It says I'm selfish, I know. I'm not debating that.
And we're back with Jim's psychology. Yes, you're a selfish nihilist. I get it.
Yes.
So that's why you view the end of this movie as ambiguous.
So I will say in the book, and I don't. It's been out long enough. I don't think I'm spoiling it for anybody. So if you have not read Knock at the Cabin at the End of the World and you don't want a spoiler, please skip the next 3 minutes. So at the end of the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is no sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
They just walk out of the cabin.
Right.
And that's the end of the book. So you do not know what happens. And much like that,
do you think the end of the book influenced your feelings about the end of the movie?
It's possible, to be honest, yes. Mm-hmm. I 100% think that is a possibility. But you can take the ending of the film two ways, right?
Well, yeah.
You hear the song that the dad who sacrifices himself, and I'm sorry if that's a spoiler because I know Knock at the Cabin just came out on streaming. Sorry. Um, you can take them driving away listening to the song that he loved as a happy ending, or at least as happy as it could be given the circumstance. Or you could be left thinking, well, what are they driving into?
I kind of feel like the end of this movie. Okay, there's some movies where you have a super ambiguous ending, right?
Right.
Like
Martyrs.
Martyrs,
Yeah.
like The Thing,
Yep.
where as an audience member, I don't think you're informed enough to know.
Right.
This one, I think they've given you more clues, so I think it's about what do I think the probability is of this ending, and you could say, oh well, you're 50-50 on it, and I would say, well, with the evidence that we've been provided, at to this point, I would be more 70-30.
And that's fair. I just expect the worst and hope for the best. So that's probably why I take
You expect the worst and you hope for the worst.
I do not hope for the worst. Back onto Knock at the Cabin.
Yep.
I forgot what we were talking about. So anyway, okay, so right, I did not care for the book. I thought it was boring, and the parts that were boring were effectively cut out of the movie, and the movie was much more exciting. So I appreciated the movie a lot more than the book.
So obviously, I've not read the book, but I feel, and I probably talked about this whenever we spoke about it last time. I just feel, okay, we all know this is a moral dilemma. We've heard it a million times in the past as one of these hypotheticals. Hey, would you kill your mom to save the entire world? Yes or no? Right? Blah, 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 blah. I just don't think this did anything interesting with it.
And that's entirely your opinion. I really am just comparing it to the book rather than just.
Well, I'm not saying. I'm just saying the concept of either the book or the movie is just one of these moral dilemmas, right? And it's not a complex one. It's the whole, hey, there's a out of control train, and you can push somebody in front of it to save a whole bunch of other people. Would you push somebody in front of that train? Yes or no?
Right.
It's that very basic sort of moral dilemma.
Yeah.
And it's not nuanced, and it doesn't add anything to it. It's just a retelling of it, with just having some people come in and just tell them it. It's like if I like broke into your house, Jim.
Yeah.
And I put a gun to you and Ray's head, and I say, hey, would you, kill Ray to save 4 people, yes or no? Or 10 people, or 100 people, or whatever.
No, take me instead.
You know what I mean? But it's like, it doesn't add anything to that moral dilemma, right?
No, but I do think it was told from a different point of view, which I probably appreciated more than you did.
What, the gay...
Yeah. The gay couple, the gay family, yes. I think that probably led to my appreciation of the subject matter a little bit more.
But what difference does it make, other than
because I haven't seen it represented in that fashion before.
Other than, to the story, like, and I think I think I probably mentioned before, it's good to see some diversity, and them having this normal family unit,
right?
Which is great.
Yeah.
But that doesn't,
No, but it will.
I kind of felt that they kind of, and maybe you'll well, obviously you'll have a different opinion. It's almost like they use that as um like all they wanted to they wanted to say some sort of social message, which is fine. But in this kind of, it's a concept movie. It felt like some of that. I know I know it's a positive message. Felt like filler.
It was worse in the book because the whole gay bashing incident takes up a lot more space in the book.
And again, it, I would like to see more. Just, and I know you've talked about it before, where maybe gay people or whatever are portrayed as the kind of caricature.
Yeah, and
But it almost would have been more impactful if they spent more time thinking about more interesting things to do with the concept and less about the whole gay bashing and this and stuff, and just had them as this normal trio, this normal family, and not made such a big deal about it.
And see, to me, I think it was muted just enough with that relationship, and that probably has to do with our different worldviews, right? You being a straight white guy,
Yeah.
and me being a gay man, and that's what I was trying to say is,
But
I think it does affect my fondness for the film, seeing that representation,
I get
as opposed to your fondness. Like I appreciate more the fact that for the most part they are just a typical gay couple trying to raise a family that have to deal with other things like the gay bashing in the bar, because that does happen.
it almost felt like in the movie they were trying to make one sort of point on this side, but then they were trying to do another thing on the other side, and the two didn't, for me, overlap. Right.
Right, and I do agree with you though that the gay bashing was used as a red herring. It was only in the story so that you could think, oh, is this really them being targeted because he's a bigot, or you know?
But here's the thing, though. They could have just had that character, which is what Ron Weasley, right?
Yeah.
Just have him in some sort of road rage incident with that guy, and not be like some sort of gay bashing thing.
That's entirely true. It could be right.
It would have been the same conflict, but you don't. It's not. It's almost felt like they were, and maybe for a good reason. But to me, it felt not. I'm going to say pandering, but it just felt like
it felt not. It didn't feel like a natural progression for you.
I just feel like just make them just a normal. And I know Dave Bautista and stuff like goes over it and over it, and I will totally disagree. I think, and you're probably got like the book view of the character. I thought,
yeah, and that's exactly what it is.
It was by far the best actor in this.
I felt he. You're gonna laugh when I say this. I have the same opinion of him as I do of George C. Scott.
Oh well, there you go. That's all we need to hear.
Yeah. I don't think he emoted well or played vulnerable very well.
I totally disagree. But I just want. I'm not part of the LGBT community or whatever, but I would just like to see kind of just it not focus on, and because I'm not part of that community, maybe it's more important for other people to say, yes, there is still gay bashing going on, there is still a lot of bigotry going on, but I think do you have to have that in every? It feels like that's a lot of the focus, and maybe that's. You could say about maybe movies that were, blaxploitation coming out in the 70s,
right.
Where like, there was maybe more racism and stuff. But I kind of feel like have it just where that's just the family, right? And
right.
You don't make a big deal that they're gay.
And I 100% agree that I would like to see more representation that way. However, given the normal tropes and stereotypes that gay characters are regulated to, I thought this was a nice evolution.
Yeah, I mean,
It definitely wasn't perfect, but it was a nice evolution towards getting to that. Just they're just a normal family unit.
and maybe if they just left out that gay bashing part,
Right.
because I still think like whenever they're saying, "Oh, you're just in here because we're gay and stuff," would have been good enough.
Right.
Um, and I thought the relationship between uh, the the gay characters and the kid were really good. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like over the top. It wasn't like, to me that's just like they're just a normal family, right?
Right.
And I think if they just held back in that gay bashing part and just, hey, you're probably in here because you don't like us having, being gay and having a kid. And Dave Bautista's like, no, that's not it at all. I think that would have addressed kind of that, and then just move past and maybe spend more time thinking about the general plot and motivations and having a little bit more interesting insight into this moral dilemma.
Right. And I will say that with regards to the book versus the movie, it I think just they cut out all the right parts of the book to keep the movie moving. And I really thought that the adaptation was done really well. And that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a little bland as far as
Yeah.
what they were doing. I thought, again, Batista was great in it, and I thought, it held my attention. It wasn't like terrible or anything.
Right.
It's not like a 10 out of 10. It's not a 1 out of 10. I'd probably give it like 6.5 out of 10.
I'd actually probably have to agree with you on that rating.
Oh my god, no!
I know.
Now that is a sign of the apocalypse.
I know, right?
Like if people broke in
Planes are
during the same room, they're like,
yeah.
okay, so to avoid the
You,
apocalypse, you both have to agree a rating on a movie. You're like, oh
yeah.
my god, okay,
Fuck
we're
me.
doomed. It's
Yep.
doomed.
So, other than that, that's really the only thing I watched. I don't think I finished any books other than what I've already talked about. Let me look. Oh, so I finished that western that I was talking about, The Cold as Hell. It wasn't for me. It wasn't great at all. The narrator was fine. The storyline, everything was there that should have made it a fun story, but it didn't gel for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what about excuse me. And what about you, Mark?
So I finished the latest Pendergast novel. I probably mentioned before that the narrator is great.
Oh, I
Very,
had yeah.
very Scott Brick-ish.
I
Um,
love Scott Brick. He's a
and
fantastic narrator.
yeah, and this, uh, so we probably talked about like the writers sometimes go on like really like crazy like stuff, and you're like, reel it back in there. It's a little like too far out there.
Uh-huh.
Be believable. Um,
Yeah.
what they did is they came up with a certain machine in the previous one, which I thought, okay, you're that's a little out there. But
Right.
they brought it back in this one, but because it had already been established in the last book, didn't
Mhm.
seem so outlandish anymore. um, but this was really good. This was like actually, I'm trying to remember, maybe like 3 or 4 books ago was as good as this one. Yeah, this was really good. And it's funny because they leave it on a cliffhanger.
Well, they always do.
No, but with the flow of the story, you feel that there didn't need to be a cliffhanger there. But it's
Okay.
funny because they have like an afterword, and they say they're like, "Thanks for reading this book, blah 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 blah. We're really sorry we left it on this sort of cliffhanger. We didn't mean to." But as we were writing this story, it just kind of kept expanding and expanding, and we couldn't fit it all into one novel.
Right.
So it wasn't intentional for this, and it's a very like quick end scene, cliffhanger,
Right.
which they don't really do. Usually, they have some sort of
Well, yeah, there's a finish to it.
epilogue
There's, yeah.
where it sets up the next book, unless it's one of
Well,
the
I think.
trilogies or whatever.
Well, I was gonna say, I think the last time they did that, that I can remember anyway, with a Pendergast novel was when he was walled up at the end of the book.
Right, but
Yeah.
that was in like a defined series of books.
Right. Right. That was that's what stretched 2 or 3 books, I think.
Right.
But I think that's the only time I remember any books in that series being that much of a cliffhanger.
No, I mean they've got like trilogies of books where they'll have like
Yeah.
definite, but they kind of make it clear that this is going to be a trilogy of books, right?
Right.
Whereas this one, they'd obviously written it, but they hadn't finished it because it kind of got like too wide for them.
Right.
And then they apologized for like doing that because it
Right.
clearly wasn't in their plan. But it was excellent.
Nice.
It was excellent. But the thing is, you can't really I can't really recommend it unless you've read like a bunch of them because you won't know
Yeah.
who the hell anybody is.
Right. Does Constance Green show up?
She is one of the main protagonists.
Oh, thank God. I don't know what it is, but I love that character.
You would,
I could,
yeah.
huh?
I don't know where you got in the series, but it's really worth your time going back in because again,
Yeah.
from even the ones that I didn't like plot wise,
Right.
I still love the writing style.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel a bit smarter.
I wonder because I follow both of the authors on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and I wonder what they're going to do with the Pendergast series, or because they're making it out to seem like Pendergast is going to start writing his own books.
Well,
So I'm
what
curious about
they
that.
do, I'm signed up to their email or whatever the hell it is, like their website or whatever, and they send out like short stories, like
Right.
little multi-paragraph stories, and some of them are by Pendergast and stuff.
Right.
I don't think, unless Pendergast is writing about himself, it would really make a lot of sense.
Right.
But anyway, this one, The Cabinet of Dr. Lang, is a huge recommend. But again, you know,
I believe I've read that one,
no, this is the brand new one that I've just read.
The Cabinet of Dr. Lang.
Right? They have the Cabinet of Curiosity
Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Book
that
number
has
3,
Dr. Lang in it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, it's like Game of Thrones or like
Yeah.
these series where if you jumped into like book 5 or 9 or something, you would have no clue what's going on.
I think I got to book 9 and looking at the series
Right.
titles.
You
I think
should
I got to
you
book
should
9.
definitely, it's definitely worth your credits
Yeah,
to go back in.
it is. I get on these tangents though where I'll read 2 or 3. For like 2 or 3 years I'll be reading one genre.
Right. But you know, you got a lot of great books ahead of you. Some are a little clunky, but I think in general they're just fantastic.
Yeah.
I ordered a okay. So I was talking about the other book that I was listening to, so I'm back into that one now, which is about Unit 731, the Japanese experimental group prior to World War II and during World War II. It's
Right.
it's just horrific. I mean, like you talk about like words and like what does word mean compared to an act, right? So it talks about vivisection of people, right? So
Okay.
you know what vivisection is, right?
Yeah.
So what is, but does that horrify you? Because that horrifies me.
You know, to be honest, the thought of it does not horrify me. What horrifies me is the act
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
of
whoa. Okay, so the thought of me with the scalpel, Jim, and you're strapped to a table, you're fully awake.
Mm-hmm.
I start cutting you open with the
Mm-hmm.
scalpel and start
Yep.
pulling out your vital organs in front of you as you're awake.
Yep.
Doesn't upset you.
It doesn't. No. What bothers me, right? It's not the thought of it. It's the thought of having to watch it that really gets under my skin. Whether it's happening to me or to somebody else. Like thinking about me being on the table, I don't know. I don't know if it's just too foreign of an idea to me
It,
that I don't, that I can't relate to it. But thinking about having to watch that be done to someone else really gives me the heebie-jeebies.
so I would give you a proposition here. If you were given a choice to watch somebody being vivisected or be vivisected, which one would you choose?
The one where I don't die, obviously.
Well, it's not even. So here's the thing, and this is where like you talk about torture and stuff. They're easy words to say, but
Yes,
try to imagine being in that position.
and that's where I have the trouble. I cannot.
You have no imagination, Jim. That's your problem.
Not with regards to that. No,
But I think that's a. You cut yourself, right, before?
of course,
So you couldn't imagine somebody cutting you
no. I couldn't
deeply?
imagine being in that horrific. I cannot imagine being in that horrific of a circumstance. No.
Anyway, so yeah, so, it talks about that, and it'll probably get on to, because I know a little bit about that camp where they would take typically Chinese.
Oh, so it's about internment camps.
Huh?
It's about internment camps. Is that where it takes place, or is that just part of the?
No, it's an experimental camp in World War II where they did medical experiments, kind of like Mangala,
Yeah.
but it was worse um, because they
But what I'm saying is that like are is this is not a story. This is historical fact, right?
correct.
So, are these in American internment camps, or are these at some other country? Is my question.
Th-
Where is this taking place? And where with the stuff that they're talking about?
This was in Manchuria.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. I didn't know what part of the world we were talking about.
Yeah, well, it's Japanese.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Japanese didn't come over to America and do this.
No, I'm not saying they did. I'm asking what part of the world this happened in.
Yes. So Japan and China have had a long-standing um, conflict for
Okay.
many many millennia. But yeah, so the Japanese would get typically Chinese, but sometimes it might be Russian or it might be various others, but 99% Chinese. And they would vivisect women. And
Hmm.
the women would be like, do whatever you want to me, but my kids, let them go. They would
Right.
let the kids go because they'd do the same thing to the kids.
Right.
They would take, um, and it was very cold where they were.
Yep.
Snow. They would take Chinese prisoners, or they called them logs. 'Cause that's what they were to them. They were just like inanimate objects, and they would
Okay.
make them put their arms into the snow overnight, and they would get
Okay.
horrific frostbite. They would bring them in, and then they would pour hot water over their arms,
Oh.
and their skin would just fall off. Their,
Oh God. That I can imagine because I've had frostbite. Oh. Ah.
and this happened to thousands of people.
Oh my God.
And that's just what I mean. They would do horrific things, and
Yeah. Oh.
anyway, so I'm a little bit into that book.
Okay.
I'm probably like a couple hours into it. The only other thing that I think I rewatched. Let's see. Avengement.
Avengement.
Avengement. What do you think of Avengement?
It sounds made up.
Now, this is Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins, I'm a huge fan of Scott Adkins, who's a British martial artist who's been
Okay.
in a ton of stuff.
Okay.
He's kind of like the modern day Jean Claude Van Damme, except
Okay.
he's much better. And he's just
Okay.
really great actor. And this movie is set in England, where he does something. His brother's kind of like a gangster sort of guy, and he's trying to get money off him, and he agrees to do something kind of illegal, and something bad happens, and he gets sent to jail. And from day one, everyone's trying to like fucking kill him.
Right.
He's like Scott Adkins, but
Avengement.
yes.
I picture somebody running around screaming that through the film.
But he's like brutalized in prison, but he's like a tough guy and he's fighting back and da 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 da.
Okay.
And then eventually gets out and he comes back to confront his brother in the gang and stuff. But it's great. It's probably my favorite movie of his, and he's such a charismatic guy. And he's one of those guys where you look at like Hollywood actors, like who would you like to go out with a drink and have a drink with? Like Scott Adkins, he's just seems like such a nice guy.
Okay.
And that is it.
Okay. So I guess on behalf of Mark and myself, before we sign off, I do want to make sure that we pop we do have don't forget the Facebook group. Recommend us to your friends. We have the email. You can reach out to us via email. We also, what am I missing, Mark? I'm missing one.
For your TikTok.
Oh yeah, we have a TikTok. You can engage there.
Uh,
And if you've hung out this long, your taste doesn't suck.
yeah. Well, your taste is definitely better than Jim's, but that's not saying much.